Our next step with area is 9-3, which is all about triangles. And as we've learned so far throughout the year, that triangles are kind of our basis. So once we learn this, we're able to expand using all the different types of polygons. So hopefully you can say I can apply the formula for area of specifically a right triangle, and then later on I can apply the formula for area of any triangle that you're given. So to start off with is that first learning target, which is the area of a right triangle, is half the product of its legs, aka, as we've known so far, the area is equal to 1/2 base times height. And so in this case right here, my base would be A. It's getting cut off a little bit, but this one's A down here. My height would be B, and I would multiply B times A and cut that in half, because as we learned last time, that if I did B times A, that would make an entire rectangle, and a triangle from vertex to vertex would be half of that rectangle itself. The next one, when we just generalize it to any type of triangle, you need to really make sure that you're using the altitude. So when we say height, with a right triangle, it's easy because the height is one of the sides. But with any generic triangle, we have to make sure that it's just the altitude, which may or may not be one of the sides itself. So the altitude of a triangle is the distance from a vertex, from a vertex to the line opposite it. So with this first example here, because it's laid down like this, where this is my base, the opposite vertex, and then going straight down so it makes that perpendicular, that would be your altitude there. With the obtuse triangle, here's my base down on the bottom there, here's my opposite vertex, and I'm going to go straight down from there. That would be my altitude. We already talked about the right triangle, but again, it's really important that you use the altitude and not just the extra side length that's given to you. So that then we can apply the area of a triangle to any triangle that we want, that the area of a triangle is half the product of any base and the corresponding altitude. So here's my base down here, so area is equal to 1/2 the length of this base. Here's my opposite vertex going straight down. That would be this height right here, not the slant height to it, but the actual perpendicular height to it, being multiplied everything together. So please write down area is equal to 1/2 base times height. Or if you've already had it written down, that's fine too. The next thing is just a corollary, and it's actually kind of interesting, and it's based off of this picture here, but a triangle with equal bases and equal altitudes have equal areas. Now that makes sense, but if you take a look at these triangles right here, it's not necessarily apparent that these have equal areas, but if you look at it, if they have the same base, so all three of these triangles, the red, green, and the blue, if they all have the same base and they all have the same height, the same altitude, even though this one is obtuse, this one is more acute, and this one over here is obtuse as well, the formula still holds that basically the red triangle actually is equal to the area of the green triangle, which is also then equal to the area of the blue triangle. Same exact thing is true with this one here. Is if I have the same base, all right, they're just pulled apart a little bit, but they're all going up to the same point. Still the same thing holds true, is 1/2 base times height would then prove that all three of these triangles have equal areas. Just a reminder again, we're going to need to know, so just to keep in mind as you go through the homework, that the area postulate will hold true, specifically this one here, because again, with congruent triangles, if I know that they're congruent, then I know that they have equal area. You've already written this down from 9-1, so you don't need to write it down a second time if you don't want to, but just keep this in mind as you're going through. Same thing with the other one, that you'll need to know the second piece as well to it, but you already have this written down, so we're not going to go over it a second time. If you want to, just watch the other video from 9-1. This is all I have for you today. I'm not going to have you do any extra practice with it on the video itself. We will do that when we get to class the next day. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.